There is a place in Finland where they are burying nuclear waste so deep underground that it needs to stay sealed and undisturbed for 100,000 years. Not 100 years, not 1,000 years, 100,000 years. That is longer than modern humans have existed as a species, longer than civilization, longer than all of recorded history by a factor of 500. And the hardest problem the designers face is not engineering, it is not geology, it is communication. How do you warn a future civilization, one that might not speak any language that currently exists on Earth, might not share any of our cultural symbols, might not even be biologically human, to stay away from this place? This is the problem of nuclear semiotics, and it has consumed some of the most brilliant minds of the last 50 years, without producing a satisfactory answer. The facility is called onkalo, a Finnish word meaning hiding place or cavity. It is being carved into bedrock on the island of Olkiluoto off the southwest coast of Finland. When complete, it will hold spent nuclear fuel rods from Finnish power plants, sealed inside copper canisters surrounded by bentonite clay, buried in tunnel networks 450 meters below the Earth's surface. The geology was chosen because the underlying bedrock has been tectonically stable for nearly 2 billion years. The engineering is designed to be passively safe, requiring no maintenance, no monitoring, no electricity, no human intervention whatsoever for the entire 100,000 year storage period. The plan is to fill every tunnel with canisters, backfill with clay and crushed rock, seal the entrance shaft with concrete, and walk away. Forever. The problem is that 100,000 years is an almost incomprehensible span of time when it comes to human culture and knowledge. Consider what has happened in just the last 10,000 years. We went from scattered hunter-gatherer bands to a global civilization of 8 billion people. Every language spoken 10,000 years ago is extinct. Every writing system is unrecognizable without specialized training. The oldest known written language, Sumerian cuneiform, is only about 5,000 years old, and it took modern scholars more than a century of painstaking work to decode it. The Egyptian hieroglyphs were completely unreadable for over 1,000 years until the accidental discovery of the Rosetta Stone in 1799. If our most sophisticated writing systems become indecipherable within a few thousand years, what possible hope is there for a message that needs to remain clearly understood for 100,000? In the early 1990s, the U.S. Department of Energy commissioned an expert panel to design a warning system for the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant, a nuclear waste repository in New Mexico. The panel included linguists, anthropologists, astronomers, material scientists, architects, and even science fiction writers. Their final report is one of the most fascinating documents ever produced by a government agency. The panel proposed a system of massive earthen berms, towering stone monoliths, and deeply buried information chambers, all conveying a single core message. They drafted it in prose that has become famous in nuclear waste circles. This place is not a place of honor. No highly esteemed deed is commemorated here. Nothing valued is here. What is here is dangerous and repulsive to us. This message is a warning about danger. The message was translated into all 6 United Nations languages, plus Navajo. But the panel acknowledged, with admirable honesty, that any language-based warning would become meaningless within a few thousand years at most. Languages evolve, split, merge, and die. So they proposed supplementary markers designed to communicate danger through universal human psychology rather than language. One proposal was a field of massive, jagged black stone spikes jutting from the ground at menacing, irregular angles, designed to create an instinctive, visceral feeling of dread and wrongness in anyone who approached. Another was a landscape of enormous concrete thorns, a forest of hostile shapes designed to signal danger at a pre-linguistic, almost primal level. Another proposal, which has become legendary, was to genetically engineer cats that would change color or glow in the presence of radiation, creating a self-replicating living warning system sustained by the biological imperative to reproduce. The idea was that cultural traditions and folk tales would develop around these ray cats, and even if the specific knowledge of radiation was lost, the association between glowing cats and danger would persist through oral tradition. It sounds absurd, but it addresses a genuine problem. Biological organisms reproduce themselves across timescales that exceed the lifespan of any human institution, language, or symbol system. The deepest irony of the entire nuclear semiotics challenge is that any sufficiently dramatic or mysterious warning marker might actually attract future visitors rather than repelling them. Consider our own behavior. We open the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs despite elaborate curses, explicit warnings, and physical barriers designed to keep grave robbers out. We did it because the warnings made the sites more intriguing, not less. A field of menacing black spikes in the middle of nowhere would not necessarily say, "Stay away," to a future archaeological expedition. It might say something incredibly important is buried here. Dig immediately. Some researchers have proposed the opposite approach entirely. Do not mark the site at all. Bury everything, smooth over the surface, plant trees, and let nature erase all evidence that anything was ever there. If there are no markers, there is nothing to attract curiosity. The waste is buried deep enough that no accidental surface activity would reach it. Only a deliberate, technologically advanced deep drilling operation could access the repository, and any civilization sophisticated enough to drill to that depth would presumably also have the technology to detect elevated radiation. But this passive approach carries its own risk. Future civilizations might drill for geothermal energy, mineral extraction, or scientific research without knowing what lies below. A drill bit puncturing a copper canister 400 meters down could contaminate groundwater for thousands of years. There is no good answer. Every proposed solution has fatal contradictions. And that might be the most important lesson nuclear waste has to teach us. We created a technology whose dangerous byproducts will outlast our ability to communicate about them by a factor of at least 20. We made a problem that will be dangerous for longer than any message we can write will remain readable. 100,000 years of responsibility, shouldered by a species that routinely struggles